here.
Start this meeting, the May 7, 2014 meeting of the Utilities Advisory Commission, special meeting, talking largely about budget. Let's do a roll call.
Waldvogel is here.
Melton here.
Cook's here.
Eglash here.
Foster here.
Excellent. Do we have any members of the public who'd like to speak on any item that's not on the agenda? Seeing none. Minutes. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes or a motion?
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, any reports from commissioner meetings or events? None. Director of Utilities report, please.
Thank you very much. Chair Cook, I have a few quick things I'd like to update you all on. From the communications front, not surprisingly, most outreach in April focused on water, either giving drought status updates or information on water-related programs, rebates, etc. Outreach ranged from media alerts and social media posts to email to neighborhood groups, and of course, events like our Great Race for Saving Water. We gave a nod to Earth Day with our Keep Green and Carry On campaign, focusing on all the city programs that help support a more sustainable lifestyle. And behind the scenes, we have lots of communication planning going on as we prepare for the many new initiatives in the works that will be coming out in the summer and fall, including the new Palo Alto Green Gas Program, new solar programs, and new residential and commercial efficiency programs. And for those of you who read the email that I sent out, we have, fortunately for us, had somebody interested in our Utilities Communications Manager position, who was the most competitive candidate amongst a very competitive field of candidates, Catherine Elvert. Now, Debbie Katz will still be with us for a while more, but she has at least indicated her intent to retire sometime this year. And so what we've implemented in the vein of succession planning and retention is some transition periods where we hire before somebody actually vacates a position so that they can give some training. It's a little bit tricky doing that, but we do have the support of the budget, the city manager, and the HR department. On community outreach events, April's always a big month. We have Earth Day and associated focus on environmental issues. So some of the things we did last month, our key account customer employee events, many of our corporate customers held events of their own, and CPAU staff provided efficiency program materials. We had a big kind of a back to school type of communication. We made presentations to hundreds of children in recent weeks about energy efficiency, water efficiency, electric safety, and utility career options at El Carmelo, Barron Park, and Walter Hayes elementary schools. Again, I mentioned earlier our April 19th Great Race for Saving Water. It was actually a very big event this year, bigger than last year. There were more racers, and there was a lot more involvement from the community organizations and businesses. A lot of delicious food donated from various sponsors, and then some homegrown lively music from one of our own city employees, Ken Torkey's band. I think there was a bad in that name somewhere, but I don't remember.
String band.
Yeah.
Pig's Foot.
Oh, Pig's Foot string band. And then on April 24th, we had the Greenlight Film Festival. I missed it, but we actually had a number of CPAU employee children being featured. CPAU played a pivotal role honoring filmmaking and outfit designing talents of local youth. We had a lot of high-quality entries and a lot of models from amongst the CPAU offspring. On April 27th, the JCC Sustainable Food Event and Presbyterian Church Earth Day Affair was held. Staff tabled booths at the events and focused on efficient garden watering at the JCC, as well as covering renewable resources in general at the church fair. On May 3rd, there was the May Fete Parade, typically organized by our Community Services Department. We had a table at this event. It was strategically located near the Lytton Plaza Recirculating Water Fountain. since our focus was water conservation and drought issues. On May 7th, there was a gray to green workshop. Oh wait, that's coming up tonight. The dramatic response to this opportunity to learn about installing a laundry to landscape gray water system, it's sold out at 140 attendees, tells us that we probably need to do something like this again in the next few months. And I think Catherine's going to be running that workshop. I think the balance will be covered by Jane Ratchey in her drought update later on in the agenda. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. As we have no unfinished business, let's go to new business. And let's discuss item number 1.
So item number 1 is staff's recommendation on the proposed utilities operating and capital budgets for fiscal year 2015. We have our star performer today is Anna Wong, who is our business analyst, and backing her up is our sort of the do-everything guy, Dave Yen, who's our senior management analyst. Anna.
Thank you, Val. Good afternoon, Chair Cook and Commissioners. I want to thank Commissioners Melton and Waldvogel for their time and feedback with the Budget Subcommittee. Oh, yes, sure. This better? Better? Okay. Okay.
Could you yell?
What's that?
Could you yell?
I could yell. I could yell. Okay.
I bet that works.
Okay. So let me just try again. So I want to thank Commissioners Melton and Waldvogel of the Budget
That's why
Subcommittee
he wanted you to speak up.
for their time and feedback. I also want to apologize for not being able to provide you more time to review the proposed budget documents. The timing just didn't work out very well this year.
So we should clarify that typically we try to coordinate very closely with the budget folks so that actually at the time we published our agenda, the council has also had an opportunity to see the budget, even though you will advise them on it. The timing worked out this year where actually the budget really wasn't even completed until like midnight on Saturday. So when we did get it, thank you, Jane, very much for making sure that happened. We did push it to you. But I think next year budget is going to try to get this, anyway, they're working on improving all of our processes.
Okay. So I'll be presenting the proposed operating and CIP budgets for fiscal year 2015. So the great news is that we're not proposing any rate changes for fiscal year 2015. Fiber continues to have a CIP increase this year at 2.58% to the EDF 1 rate, which was approved by Council as part of the dark fiber licensing agreement back in 2006. This is the fiscal year 2014 highlights. Now, Val just went through a list of just April, her April report. So that was a lot. And so utilities does do a lot throughout the year. And this is just a handful of things that I wanted to highlight. So Council approved the carbon neutral plan in September 2013, making us one of the few carbon neutral cities in the world. The El Camino Park Reservoir and Wells portion of the emergency water supply project came online in January. The SAIC organizational assessment was presented to Finance Committee. The report concluded that utilities is appropriately organized and effective, performing as well as or better than comparable utilities. We have soft launched the new outage management system. And John Abenstein and his team has revamped the financial plans and reserves policy for electric, gas, wastewater, and water. And the change is not being reflected here as the financial plans and proposed reserves policies are being presented to Council as part of the budget process. So we won't see the new reserve policies reflected here in this presentation. As you're aware, we've had issues retaining experienced employees and filling the vacancies with qualified candidates. Previously, the city didn't allow for us to backfill a position until it was vacant, which doesn't allow for much of a transition period, pretty much not at all. We've recently worked with People Strategy and Operations to use overseeing positions to help us transition. For example, Val just told us the announcement of Catherine Elvert to the communications manager, and she'll be able to work with Debbie Katz while she's still here for a smooth transition. Thank you. So the fiscal year 2015 initiatives. There has been a shift in IT support model where IT is more focused on project management and less on application support. So in light of this shift, we've commissioned a utility-specific IT assessment. We anticipate the completion of this assessment before the end of fiscal year 2014, and we'll develop a roadmap in the upcoming year. Our compliance manager is working with IT security officer to hire a contractor to assess their utility SCADA and IT security. The water system master plan was last updated about 15 years ago. It is important to periodically evaluate the system's needs through condition assessments. This will help us determine the rate of main replacement in the coming years. We are coordinating with the planning department, combining our water main replacement project with their California Avenue streetscape project. Construction recently started in mid-April. The proposed local solar plan encourages cost-effective adoption of solar technologies in Palo Alto in keeping with the city's objectives for environmental sustainability. The aging workforce is a major concern for utilities nationwide. One of the ways we hope to address this issue is by partnering with local community and trade colleges to develop utility-specific or related curriculum in internships in the Bay Area. And we've committed to partnering with West Valley College, who is the fiscal sponsor and lead program agency, applying for a grant. And some of the current partners include Santa Clara Valley Water District, San Jose State University, San Mateo College, Kenyatta College, and Skyline College. So our 2014 electric fund highlights. Again, the 100% carbon neutral electricity. We're one of the very few cities that are carbon neutral electric. Our carbon neutral plan includes expansion of long-term renewable resource commitments and promotion of local renewable resources. We've about 300 residential customers are now set up with advanced meters that has time of use capabilities, which will allow customers to monitor their own energy use and for utilities to detect outages and restore services more quickly. Undergrounding of electric lines in Hawthorne, Alma, Lytton, and High, and Cambridge area that's bounded by Birch and El Camino have been completed. There's the AT&T work that remains to be done, but overall the electric lines are done. Discussions are ongoing with various parties for the second transmission line. We are in the process of hiring a project manager to facilitate the project. So moving on to the electric fund summary. Again, there are no rate changes proposed. Revenue is expected to decrease by about $800,000. Some major highlights include a cap and trade increase, customer sales decrease, and interest income decrease. Expenses are expected to decrease by $300,000. Some notable changes include a cancellation of a couple of renewable agreements as the projects didn't pan out. We're increasing the CIP by about $1.1 million and expanding our solar rebate program as the state mandated SB1 solar program winds down in 2016. We anticipate the continued or higher participation for solar. This also ties in with our local solar plan. The increase to our CIP includes new customer connections and various underground rebuild projects. Our system capacity and reliability includes site security. We've installed new security systems to our Park, Quarry, and Hanover and Hanson substations, and we'll continue to upgrade our security at other sites as well in fiscal year 2015. So the proposed budget for CIP for fiscal year 2015 is $9.7 million, and we'll be carrying over about $14 million from prior year budgets. The prior year projects are available in the back of the proposed CIP book, which you might not have right now. Oh, you do? Okay, good. Okay. And the electric fund reserves at the projected reserve balance at the end of fiscal year 2015 is $126 million. As mentioned previously, the projected reserves listed here do not reflect the proposed reserve policy. Do you have any questions about the electric fund? No? Okay. All right.
What's the reason for the interest income decrease?
The interest income decrease? That is our bond where we invest our money. What?
Oh, interest income? Oh, yeah.
Interest income.
So the low.
The low bond rates that returned. Actually have some pie charts for us. This is the expenses broken down by category. Over 50% of the expenses are utility purchases, and the rest are split amongst the other categories fairly equally. And our next slide is the expenses by activity and divisions. Similar to the previous chart, the commodity supply is the largest portion of expenses. And do you have any other questions for electric? Okay. And we'll move on to the fiber fund. The streetlight, traffic signal, and fiber crew have completed the construction build-out of all 18 Palo School District sites. And we've collaborated with IT and Public Works to bring Wi-Fi to Cogswell Plaza. We are working with the Citizen Advisory Committee on the scope for both fiber to the premise master plan and the wireless network plan study. These RFPs are expected to hit the streets in June of 2014. So for the fiber optic summary, we have the 2.58% CPI increase to the EDF fund rate. Revenues are expected to increase by $200,000, and this includes the CPI increase as well as $150,000 in new customer connections. Expenses are expected to increase by $500,000, which can be attributed to salaries and benefits. This also includes a temporary hourly position to project manage the two studies, and that comes out to about $50,000. And general fund increases reflect additional support from the city manager's office and the city attorney's office. So our fiber fund CIP, there are no changes. Fiscal year 2015, we are proposing $400,000 in CIP, and we'll be carrying over about $600,000 from prior year budgets. The fiber fund reserves, our projected reserve balance at the end of fiscal year 2015 is $19.8 million. And again, here we've got some pie charts of the expenses broken down by category. Since there are no commodity purchases in the fiber fund, salary and expenses represent the largest share of the expenses. Although 45% may sound like a lot, that only represents about 7.5 FTEs, or about 1 million of the fund. And expenses broken down by activity. This one shows expenses by division and major activities. The majority of expense, it goes to operation and maintenance to maintain the network and add new connections. And then it's followed by CIP, general fund admin, and then utility admin. Do we have any questions for fiber? No? Okay. So the gas fund, as part of a safety initiative, we launched the cross-border program in 2011. This project has proven much more complex than we originally anticipated. We've inspected 62%, or 13,740 of our laterals. 9,640 of them have passed inspection, and over 4,000 have not passed due to blockages, roots, water, or equipment breakdown. And this leaves a total remaining to be completed or inspected of 9,000. Engineering is currently reviewing all the data that we've received from the contractor and will form a plan of action once the review is complete. The anticipated completion date of this cross-border effort, though, is by the end of calendar year 2016. The new Palo Alto Green Gas Program gives our residents and commercial customers the opportunity to reduce or eliminate their impact to greenhouse gas emissions through the purchase of certified environmental offsets. And gas receiving stations 1, 2, and 4 are complete, and gas receiving station number 3 is under construction, and that's at the Page Mill Road.
Before you go on, question?
Yes.
On the cross-border inspection program, how many laterals have passed is probably less important than how many defects we found.
Oh, actually.
Tom?
Tom Marshall, Assistant Director, Utilities Engineering. So many defects, but you're talking probably about how many crossbores we found. I think we found about 25 crossbores that have found and been corrected. Now that says that 9,000, we've had cameras in most laterals in the city. The issue that we have is we can't have 100% surety that there's no crossbores in them because you can't physically see the entire lateral. So that's a lot of the ones remaining. Most of them we're pretty sure we don't have crossbores in them, but we can't eliminate it with 100% certainty there's a crossbore in it. And so that's the issue that we're dealing with now, is how are we going to deal with these ones that we can't completely clear? Because the part of the sewer lateral is the property owners, it's not the city. So many of them have defects, crushed pipe, roots in them, just many issues. Sags in them, so when you go through a sag, it's full of water, so you can't physically see with the camera. So there's many issues. We're trying to sort of figure out how to deal with the amount of uncertainty we have left. I think some of them we can say we have 95 or 98% certainty, but there's always a possibility out there. So those are, we're trying to figure out how to deal with them.
Thank you.
Sure.
So the gas fund summary, there are no proposed rate changes. Revenue is expected to decrease due to a lower load projection. We omitted to submit a $2.5 million reduction in customer sales in the proposed budget. So this revised figure is based on our most recent financial forecasts. And expenses are staying relatively flat. Commodity purchases are expected to decrease due to lower load projections. And the CIP increase of $500,000 comes is for the gas main replacement project 22.
A quick question. How do we think we're doing on losses, gas losses? Any sense of that? In other words, the difference between what people buy and what we buy?
John Abenshine, Senior Resource Planner. The losses for the gas utility are fairly minimal. I mean, true losses are very minimal. Unaccounted for gas, I think, is in the roughly the 2% range.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you, John. All right, this leads into our gas fund CIP. As mentioned earlier, the $500,000 is for the gas main replacement project 22. Gas main replacement project 19B 2021 is still under construction. We have about 10 miles of main that have been installed and 431 services that have been installed. For fiscal year 2015, the proposed CIP budget is $2.3 million, and the carryover is about $15 million from prior year budgets. Our gas fund reserves, projected reserve balance at the end of fiscal year 2015 is $19 million. And here's a chart showing the gas fund expenses by category. The majority of expenses are from utility purchases, followed by equity transfer to the general fund, then rents and allocated charges. And this chart shows the expenses by division and major activities. The largest expense is commodity supply, and coming in second is the general fund transfer. we have any other questions for gas? No? Okay. So we'll move on to wastewater collection. Sanitary sewer rehabilitation projects 22 and 23 are complete, or very nearly complete. And this is in the Crescent Park area, Oregon Avenue and Alma. Well, there's many streets in there, but those are the essential bigger streets. We've installed 20 smart covers in areas with the highest sanitary sewer overflow incidence rate. These smart covers provides daily flow information and notifies staff of all potential overflows. And since installing the smart covers, we've not had any overflows in these specific areas. We plan to expand this program in fiscal year 2015. So for the fund summary, there are no proposed rate changes, and there are no changes or expected changes in revenues. Expenses are expected to increase mainly due to System Rehabilitation Project number 26, which is scheduled to begin in fiscal year 2015. This brings us to our CIP budget. There's an increase of $3.1 million for Project 26, and Project 24 and 25 is expected to be completed at the end of 2015. For fiscal year 2015, the proposed CIP budget is $4 million, and the fund will be carrying over about $9 million from prior year budgets. The wastewater collection fund reserves, projected reserve at the end of fiscal year 2015 is $4.6 million. And this chart shows the expenses broken down by category. Majority of expenses are wastewater treatment charges and the CIP. And wastewater treatment charges for next year are expected to remain the same. This chart shows our expenses by division and major activities. And as with the previous chart, the majority of expenses, again, is wastewater treatment charges and CIP. Any questions about wastewater?
Yes, I have one.
Okay.
The fund reserves on slide 26 are down 1.8 million, which is not a huge number, but a large percentage, and it seemed like a much higher percentage than the other funds reserves that are changing. Is that anything to be concerned about?
For now, it's not a concern. Actually, we didn't include another. And this year, we're gonna have a $1.5 million positive to the reserves. We're working with accounting and making an adjustment. So that's actually not reflected in this number. So for now, we don't think it's a concern.
Thank you.
All right, then we're moving on to our water fund highlights. So the El Camino Park pump, well, and reservoir is fully operational as of January 2014. The water main replacement project 23 and 24 was also completed. Utilities was recently awarded for having one of the most comprehensive water conservation programs in the state, which has resulted in savings of almost 300 million gallons of water in the last 10 years alone. And to give us perspective, that's enough to fill 12 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Santa Clara Valley Water District has approved both of our grant applications for a total of $100,000, which covers creating business water reports that are similar to our home water reports we send to residents, and the expansion of our commercial real-time water use monitoring pilot. For the water fund summary, there are no proposed rate changes for water. Revenues are expected to increase by $1.1 million and includes revenues from new fire service requirements and customer connection fees. Expenses are expected to increase by $2.8 million. This includes an increase from the SFPUC, rents, and allocated charges. Our water fund CIP, utilities is initiating a master planning process to evaluate the current state of the distribution system and determine the necessary rate of main replacement in future years. And this will include a seismic evaluation of the water transmission line. Proposed CIP budget for fiscal year 2015 is $5.3 million, and the fund will be carrying over about $14 million from prior year budgets. Our water fund reserves, projected reserve balance at the end of fiscal year 2015 is $10.7 million. This chart shows our expenses by category, and the majority of expenses are utility purchases, rents, and allocated charges. Our water fund expenses by division and major activity. The largest portion of the expenses goes to commodities, then administrative overhead, which includes debt service, rent, utility admin, and general fund admin. Do we have any questions about the water fund? No? Okay, great. So we move on to our new position requests. This fiscal year, we're asking for 3 new positions. The first one is the electric meter technician. So this new technician is to meet our base workload needs. We've been pretty much limping along to meet our existing maintenance, CIP, and new customer connection demands. And this position will help us address the increasing backlog and support the new advanced meter projects. Yes.
What's the implication of 1,000 unsealed meters, or what's the implication of an unsealed meter? What does it signal to us?
Good afternoon. Dean Batchelor, Assistant Director of Operations. So the implication is that we don't know that when those meters are unsealed and the rings are gone, that there could be some tampering portions of it. We've recently found that on 5 different occasions, probably within the last 2.5 months, that we've seen situations like this. And we've found that there's been tampering on the backside of the meter panels. And so we have not had the resources that we could be looking for these type of incidents that could happen. There could be fires at these residents. Also, too, is just stealing of electricity from that. So we think that if we had a way to go back and reseal and relook at this as the meter readers go out on a monthly basis, then they'll be able to report these ones. So that those are main causes.
Do we have any view on, do we think we've lost revenue, or how much revenue do we think we might have lost relating to this?
At this point, we don't have any determination on what that looks like. Again, we are now starting to slowly take these meters out and actually doing the testing portions of it and come up with some type of analysis that we can look at that. But we don't have anything at this date.
So would you say that in most cases this is resulted from tampering or other people doing stuff to our meters?
I think from looking at it from having knowledge base from this is that I don't believe it's all from tampering. I think that sometimes that we could be going out there maybe changing the meter itself, and our own folks just not resealing the meter and not following through and doing that. We also have changed meter seals. If I can, I'll come up here real quick. So the gray one is the style that we've had in the past. And the curly wire with the blue tab portion of it is the newer style that we're actually putting in. So what it is you slip it back through, you crank it down, break the front tab off, and then you can get it a much tighter seal. Where the gray one, you can see the hook, it's much easier to leave it locked. So this is the new style that we're actually going to. So going back to your question, I don't think it's all from tampering portion. I think some of it is just from history of just having the meters unsealed.
Thank you.
Thanks for the demonstration.
Oh, yeah.
Our next position is the Utility Safety Officer. This position is responsible for health and safety programs across all utilities to ensure we are in compliance with workplace safety and federal regulations. And this position will also conduct emergency preparedness training with the other city departments. Any questions about this position? Okay. No? Okay. And our next position request is the Principal Management Analyst. This position is needed to support and enhance key utilities, business systems, and applications across the department. The request is supported by the recent organizational assessment as well as preliminary findings of the department's IT assessment. Have any questions about this position? Yes, hi.
If I recall, in past years, in the last couple of years, we've had trouble spending our full CIP budget because of lack of either utilities staff or public works staff or both, I think due to attrition and inability to replace workers and to fill previously approved positions. You want to comment on that?
Tom Marshall, Assistant Director, Utilities Engineering. We're at a point where we're getting most of our positions filled right now. We do still have some vacancies in engineering that we're filling. On the CIP front, we are catching up with the CIP. On the water, gas, wastewater side, we're pretty much up to date on the CIP. Some of that's in the construction process and will continue to be in the construction process for the next year or so. But as far as the design portion, we're pretty much caught up on that side. On the electric side, we're still catching up. We still have some vacancies on the electric side, and we're continuing to have to deal with people looking for other jobs and having to counter offers and other things to try to keep our experienced employees here, and that's continuing on as an issue for us.
So if I could just add, as Tom noted, we are working hard to fill our ranks. We are having, to some extent, to hire people with a little bit less experience. As a result, I don't know, for some of you maybe on some of the neighborhood email groups, and you've seen some real complaints about the failure to notify about upcoming CIP projects. Some of that is an experience level, training level matter, and so we are still rebuilding our workforce. We do have little bumps every now and then, and it's largely because we have brought newer hires in who are more freshly out of, for instance, college, and are kind of got a ways to go on the learning curve.
But it sounds like the situation's a whole lot better than it was a year or two ago. So my compliments for your redoubled efforts and apparently significant progress on a tough problem.
Yeah. I just mentioned we are going to be having, as we move forward, there's a lot of retirements still pending coming forward for us. So we're continuing to have this problem of backfilling in and getting experienced people to the level we need them to be able to do the work that needs to be done. So anyway, thank you.
Could you remind us just a couple other headcount questions? One is how many vacancies do we have? And just to give us a sense of scope of this, how many people have we hired this year, and possibly how many have left?
I think Dave might have it.
Do you have that number?
So in regards to vacancies, we have about 23 right now. I think previously last year around this time we had about 38. So we've reduced it quite a bit. And I have to find out about the new hires, but probably, okay.
So then I guess we come to the end here. Oh, okay. Do you have any more questions? Okay. So the takeaway is fiscal year 2015 is a fairly good year. We have no proposed rate changes. We'll continue to focus on CIP. There's the 3 major studies, the water system master plan, the 2 fiber plans, and ongoing gas and electric projects. Workforce development and succession planning is another key focus. So we ask that the UAC recommend to Council to approve the proposed fiscal year 2015 utilities operating and CIP budget. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. So typically we'd go to well, either public comment or commissioner comments, but I do want to give the utilities subcommittee a chance to present right now. And I also like to echo the thanks that Commissioner Melton, Commissioner Walfogel did spend the time with the staff looking at the budget. And so at this moment, I'd like to turn over to Commissioner Melton.
Thank you. As everybody has said, Asher and I spent time with staff going through the budget package, both operating, capital, personnel, the whole thing. We recommend adoption of the budgets and personnel plans as submitted. We didn't find anything to recommend in this year's budget other than what the staff has prepared as the budget. So we recommend approval of this year's budget. We do have wanted to just kind of make a budget subcommittee report on looking forward. As you may have noticed on the slides that were presented, where the pie charts in particular, in our electric, gas, and water utilities, it's roughly 50-50 between commodities and what Asher and I termed as fixed costs, though, we're basically saying anything other than the commodities, operation, maintenance, CIP, admin, rent, return on investment, all of those things are the non-commodity fixed cost of our operation. And as we all know, the standard formula when you have high fixed costs is run more volume through it and you get a much better return on the increased volume. Unfortunately, that's not our business model right now. Our business model is to decrease the volume going through the fixed costs. We want to cut down on water. We want to cut down on electricity. We want to cut, we are paying money and incentives to our customers to reduce volume. So that means that we cannot get those benefits of higher volume that industry would try to encourage. So we need to, in the long term, need to focus on reducing or otherwise spreading out those fixed costs. And Asher and I have spent some time talking about this, and we have some examples that I just want to discuss here, and I'm sure you guys and the other commissioners probably have other things that they can think of. But we sort of divided into two categories. One is spreading over multiple organizations or outsourcing some of these things. For instance, Palo Alto police and fire departments have reached cooperative agreements with neighboring cities to share the dispatch costs by establishing a common dispatch center that 3 or 4 cities pay for. I don't remember the exact number. And we look at that example and say, well, we've got 3 municipal utilities in our nearby Bay Area, Silicon Valley Power, Alameda Electric, and ourselves. And not too far distant away is SMUD, which is a big municipal utility. And we're thinking, you know, why aren't we doing cooperative things with these other municipal utilities? Our dispatch, we could be doing a common dispatch system with the others here in the Bay Area. Customer service. Everybody knows you can outsource customer service anywhere in the world. We're not proposing to go offshore. We're just saying, why couldn't we have a common customer service that serve the 3 municipal utilities here in the Bay Area? Billing. We're in talking to staff during the budget meetings, it was mentioned that we're going to be looking at a new billing system. As long as we're looking at a new billing system, why aren't we including Alameda and Silicon Valley Power and take over or do their billing as well? They're both just electric, while we're a multi-purpose utility. But hey, we bill for our electric service. We could bring them in and spread that billing cost over all 3 utilities for all the electric service. When we were talking with, kind of bouncing ideas around with staff, one of the staff members said, if it were his choice and we were going to try to do something in cooperative or outsourcing, he would love to do stores and inventory management differently than we do it now. And suppose Amazon wants to do our inventory management for us, but it turns out that there are firms out there that are in the business of doing inventory management, and we're talking big ticket items like transformers and cable spools and that sort of thing. I think that we need to look forward or look outside ourselves. We need a less parochial view. We need to look outside ourselves at our fellow municipal utilities around here and say, what can we do together to spread these operating costs, more or less fixed, that we all 3 have to do? Why aren't we working together to and I'm not saying that Palo Alto Utilities has to do it all. I mean, maybe we do billing and Santa Clara does dispatch and Alameda runs the customer service phone bank. There's. But I think we all 3 could benefit if we could work on this cooperatively. The second category of ideas that we had was to try to lower annual operating costs by more investment in new technologies. And specifically, we have innovation dollars in the budget that if some of those were directed specifically at projects that look promising to reduce our operating costs, then those are projects that we ought to be involved in promoting. A lot of these we've talked about before: smart grid, remote meter reading, fiber to the premises. all of those are things that can or have the potential of reducing our operating costs, but require investment. That's and so our sense is that we should work with staff, encourage staff to focus on not just as things come along, but actually focus on and try to develop ways to specifically to reduce annual operating costs. And that, I think, is not this year's budget, but it's a topic for the next few years' budgets as we proceed forward. So that's the recommendation from the budget subcommittee.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I really appreciate that, and it's a good chance for us to look into the future and figure out what we can do better in the future. And I imagine some of the commissioners will have comments on that. But let me go to just check to see if there are any public comments on this topic. No. Okay. Let's go ahead, Commissioner Eglash.
The issues that Commissioner Melton just described are in fact affecting every utility in the world. There's a whole set of challenges that Palo Alto and other utilities are facing with conservation. It's crazy if you think about it. What business has as a business model trying to get their customers to buy less of what they produce? It's a challenging business model because you see revenues drop, and as Commissioner Melton mentioned, then fixed costs are a larger fraction of the total. Of course, here in Palo Alto, we're particularly experiencing that in water, where as people have used less water, we've had to increase rates. And we've all learned how hard it is to explain to a customer that, yeah, the rates are going up, but your bill's still going down because you're using less, so don't worry about it. Distributed generation is an additional challenge. Lots of utilities worldwide have installed two-way smart meters, but most utilities have no idea what to do with those. Most utilities don't even have marketing departments. They know darn well that if they were Google or Facebook or Yahoo or Twitter or Amazon or Netflix, they'd know what to do with real-time two-way communications with their customers, but most utilities don't. In fact, lots of utilities worldwide are increasingly wondering if their competitors of the future aren't traditional utilities at all, but companies like Amazon or Google. Why shouldn't people start buying their kilowatt hours of electricity from Amazon or Google in the years ahead? So the entire utility industry worldwide feels like their business models, knows that their business models are changing, and they're trying to adapt. And so the problems that we just described, as important as they are to us, are also broader. I do think that innovation, as Commissioner Melton described, is the right approach to these problems. I happen to believe that the best innovation will come from Palo Alto Utilities staff and the people who are worrying about this nearly every waking hour, who are living this as part of their professional lives, are the people who are most likely to have innovative ideas of how, not just how to reduce fixed costs, but in general, how the business model of City of Palo Alto Utilities ought to evolve 5 and 10 and 20 years from now. This may turn out to be the next generation of why it's so exciting that we have a municipally owned utility in Palo Alto. For the last several decades, we've had a lot of the legacy benefits that were part of the creation of a municipally owned utility in the first place, and lower rates, particularly in electricity, have been one of the happy results of that, in addition to local control. It may be that in the next few decades, the advantages of having a municipally owned utility are a whole new set of good reasons that none of us can even imagine today. But I think that as we try to define what that utility of the future looks like, I think the best ideas are going to come from City of Palo Alto Utilities staff. So I like very much the comments of my colleague up here, but I would love to see and enthusiastically support some kind of staff-focused effort for City of Palo Alto Utilities innovation, something more broad than just reducing fixed costs, but something like defining the utility of the future. I think that in order for staff to help define that and come up with innovative ideas, they probably need just two things. They need some direction and encouragement to do it, and they need an opportunity to do it. But I don't think it's well, maybe it is rocket science, but it doesn't require elaborate new programs. It just requires a commitment to doing it and some opportunity to do it. And, you can figure out what opportunity means. Does it mean time? Does it mean bonuses? Does it mean resources that can be put behind the best ideas? But I think there's an incredible opportunity here to respond to the sorts of pressures that Commissioner Melton so accurately highlighted.
Thank you. Commissioner Waldvogel.
Just to echo and respond to this, I actually do a lot of professional work now on innovation process in large organizations. So I hate to be the buzzkill here, but I think that if we take this on, we need to look at some outside help to do this well. That innovation is difficult. It's hard for organizations to innovate purely internally because most organizations are prisoners of their business model, of their current business model. I think there's a lot of literature to support that notion. So I would love to see staff heavily involved in innovation process, but I think that we need to potentially look outside of our own little community in order to find some real breakthrough ideas, some breakthrough innovation models.
Thank you all. Do we have any other comments or questions? Okay, so do we have a motion?
Sure. I move that we recommend that the City Council adopt the proposed utilities operating and capital budgets for fiscal year 2015.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Thank you very much for the presentation, extra explanation. Glad to see your rates aren't changing. Okay.
Also, if I can just comment, I mean, it was really fun to do this during the day when virtually every question that was asked got a different professional from the department coming up to answer it. So thank you so much for this daytime meeting, and thank all of you so much for all of your hard work and dedication to the city, but also being here to respond to these questions. It was a real treat.
Okay, let's move on to item number 2.
They're just here because they like to see you guys in action.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of action going on here. We're like action heroes.
Thank you, Anna and Dave, very much. Our next item is regarding termination of the Palo Alto Green Electric Program, primarily for residential customers. Are you doing this one? Jane Ratchey will cover this one for us, our Assistant Director.
Okay, I don't have a presentation on this item. It's a fairly simple item. Let's find it first. So as you know, the council suspended what we call the full needs program for Palo Alto Green, the voluntary electric green program, in September 2013, and primarily because the portfolio is 100% carbon neutral as of 2013, so it seems like a redundant or obsolete program at this point. And so we've gone on, as you know, and council has approved the Palo Alto Green Gas Program to get people to address their carbon footprint on the gas side, and we'll be launching that program in July. So really the remaining thing is, what are we going to do about this suspended program? As you may recall, the block purchase part of the program was not suspended because there still are commercial customers who value that part because of using it to either attain or retain their LEED certification or get their EPA green powder leadership status continuing. But there really isn't much value for residents, and so we're proposing at this point to terminate the program for residential customers, those customers on the E1 program, and just terminate that program. But we did hear from some commercial customers that they actually like the 100% program, the full needs program that was suspended. And so for that program, we're saying, let us reactivate that part of the full needs program for those customers who are on that program. So that's basically the sum total of our recommendation, is to terminate the residential part and reactivate the commercial part of the full needs Palo Alto Green program.
Thank you very much. Any comments from the public? Oh. Yeah, any comments from the public? None? Okay. Commissioner Eglash?
This may be a naive question that I should know the answer to. Do we have money that we've received under the program that we haven't spent, such that we also need to be talking about the disposition of revenue obtained through the program?
We do have, and you acted on that, and the council on April 21st also acted on the plan to return the money, the over-collected money or the accumulated net revenue from that program, and that will be returned to customers of record as in July for the full needs part of the program. And so that money will be returned, and essentially we'll have a communication for the residential customers that says, this program, thank you for participating in this program. The program is now terminated. You will be getting a refund. Please sign up for this new Palo Alto Green Gas program. So it'll be this whole piece of communication. There are accumulated net revenues for the block purchase program as well. And those, if you remember, we lowered the price of the block program substantially. And so we're hoping that those accumulated net revenues that we're watching closely now will shrink, and those, we won't have net revenues at some point in time. So we'll keep a watch on that and keep watching the participation levels and make sure that our revenues and expenses are the same, so that we may need to change the rate on that periodically, but we're maintaining that.
And again, remind me, we decided there's simply no good alternative to returning the money. There was no effective or appropriate way that the customer could say, you know, rather than give me the money back, please direct it to this other environmentally focused activity.
Right. That would have been administratively very burdensome to do that. We would have had to deal basically with each customer individually on that, and that just didn't seem, that would have taken, you know, the bulk of the money. So. Right.
And in terms of residents that have been happy to contribute to this program, the only opportunity that we're giving them to continue doing something similar is to opt into Palo Alto Gas. And yes, it's something that's going to require an affirmative action on their part. We, again, decided there was no appropriate way for the customer to just sort of continue doing what they've been doing in a transparent way.
That's right. And so, you know, at one point there was a thought that we'd change this program into a donation program for solar on schools. If we end up having such a donation program come back, it'll come back, and it may be similarly structured to this program, maybe not based on usage, but, you know, maybe $5 or $10 a month, that type of program may come out in the future. That was in something like that is in the local solar plan that council also adopted on April 21st. That did come to the UAC. But that particular program was delayed. It's not the first one out of the chute. So if it comes back, you know, it may have a different name. It may use the Palo Alto Green name in some way, but it'll be a very different program.
Thank you very much for all those reminders.
Commissioner Walfogel.
Thank you. I support this. A couple questions. One is, did we make an affirmative decision not to just transfer our green customers automatically into the green gas program?
Yes, we did, on advice of the city attorney.
Pesky, don't ask questions that you don't want the answer to. The other thing is, I think that we've created a really valuable brand here in Palo Alto Green, and just to follow on to something that Commissioner Eglash just said, if this were a brand that Yahoo or Google owned, they would think of something really clever to do with it next. Mm-hmm. So let's just not lose sight of that. We've got a great brand. Let's not let it die. Let's not let it, let's continue to use it and find really interesting things that we can put underneath this brand as we go forward.
Right, and we haven't lost sight of that. We've heard that from a couple of people here, and remember that we are continuing the brand for the Palo Alto Green Gas Program, and so we are continuing it there, and it may reappear as a solar donation program at some point in the future. We haven't figured that out.
I mean, I would even encourage putting all of our sustainability programs underneath the Palo Alto Green brand, just creating a single umbrella brand, rather than having a bunch of point programs. But this is something, to explore. I don't know that we think of brand management and brand stewardship as part of our core competencies, but it's something that we should, consider.
Okay, and I'm very glad that Catherine Elvert is here to hear that.
Okay, thank you very much. Other comments? Other commissioners?
So I'll move that.
Let me just quickly say, I agree with both my colleagues, and I think it's kind of like a bittersweet moment. You're basically we were successful. So we have to shut down this very successful program because we were even more successful with the carbon neutrality. So I too would have liked to, potentially seen some of the money that's being returned go to some other good sustainable project, and would like to have had people automatically sign up for the green gas program. But I'm glad to know that the green gas program is launching in July. I think it's a great follow-on to the good work that you all have done for the community, and so I'm looking forward to that. So thank you very much.
I'd like to move that the UAC recommend that the City Council adopt the resolution terminating the Palo Alto Greens Full Needs Program for residential customers and reinstating it for commercial and multifamily, exactly as stated on the agenda.
Second. We'll say Commissioner Melton second.
Okay. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Another 5-0 vote. Thank you very much, Jane. Item number 3.
Should go over here.
This one is one that you all had requested, which was to have on the agenda regular updates on drought and drought activities. Jane has put together a quick update for you all that I think would be very informative. Also, I should let staff know behind me that I wouldn't be offended if they were to sneak out at this point, but they're also welcome to stay.
Okay, Val said it was quick. I thought I didn't have much on the much time on this agenda, but it actually is a little lengthier than quick, possibly. But anyway, I'm going to give you a brief update on the impacts of the drought on Palo Alto at this point on both the water and the electric fund. So I'm going to talk about basically the water supply situation first. What's the current status of water supply, snowpack, precipitation? What's the state doing? What's the regional update? And what's Palo Alto's response been so far? And then we'll get into what the hydroelectric part of our portfolio, which is, as you know, is quite large, how that's impacted by the drought too. So first of all, these are some graphs that are updated as of April 27th. So this shows the black line, the high line, is where we expect what the median of how snowpack is built up and melted off. And so by definition, the median on April 1st is when the snowpack is at its peak. And so that line is how snowpack should build up and then melt off. So you can see in last year, which is the green line, we were looking good early on. If you remember, it was raining a lot through December 2012, and then it stopped raining. And so that was the snowpack situation last water year. Now, water year runs from October through the end of September. And so this water year is in the red line, and you can see it just continued, never snowing, never raining. And we got, on April 1st, or around April 1st, we got up to about 40% of the April 1 median amount. And right now it's melted a little bit, and we're at about 25% of the April 1 median. And as you can see, the normal time on, for example, May 1st, is that you'd be 70% of the April 1 median. So it's not a good situation for snowpack. For precipitation, this also shows a water year picture of precipitation, and this is called the upcountry, the Hetch Hetchy area. I think there's 6 rain meters up there, and this is a combination of those. And you can see again the median, what happens, and then what happened last year. It looked like it was going to be a nice wet year, and then it just stopped raining. And then again, this year, we've had a few later storms, but we're still not looking so good. And so we're about at 50% of what we expect for the year as a whole. So again, not a good story. This is a picture of the total amount of water that San Francisco has in storage. And that last number there, which is, the trajectory isn't looking so good, is as of April 27th also. So it's not looking so good. It's been worse. And so it's just, it's still quite a bit of water. On the other hand, they have a little less than 1 million acre-feet in water. The whole region uses about 250,000 acre-feet a year. So, but some of this, it's harder to get than others, and you don't want to drain something to the bottom of the reservoir. So how much is really there is not the entire million, really. So San Francisco is still calling for the 10% reduction that they called on earlier, and they have told us now that they're not going to lift that. It's not going to get to 5 or 0 throughout the calendar year 2014, so that's not a surprise. They are potentially going to change it upward, though, and that just depends on how people are responding. And they say if use is not reduced, they are seeing right now that overall for the region, usage is not going down. And the only time it does go down is when there's local rainfall. And so they're not seeing good response to their request for voluntary reductions right now. And so they are threatening that if they don't see that soon, they may raise that. They may raise it to 20% and keep it at voluntary, or they may make it not voluntary and make it mandatory rationing. So this is not a good, this is a bad news situation for us. We do expect the next update from them, formal update, to be in mid-June. It could be any time really, but that's the one that they've told us. This is a picture of the total system deliveries, and this is over a fiscal year. And when they called for the 10% reduction in January, and where we have been. So the green line is where we are week to week in the whole region, and that means San Francisco and all the Bosque agencies. And the dotted line is where they want us to be, which is a 10% reduction from calendar year 2013. And so they're looking at that and going, come on, not doing anything. And then this is a cumulative one from the day they called for 10%. So this is about at the beginning of the year. They want us to be on that dotted line, and where are we? We're way below as a region. So it's not a good, it's pretty much nothing good so far.
That chart shows that we're not saving.
That's right.
We're just basically at
Yeah,
parity.
the cumulative savings is basically just a tiny bit positive. It's pretty much it's bad. And then you may have heard also that the governor issued a second drought declaration. There was one in January, and in that there's not much he can directly do, but the thing really encourages a lot of actions. He didn't say you have to impose new water use restrictions, but he strongly encourages those. And basically, these kinds of things help water agencies to enforce the basic message that this is a serious situation and we need to respond. But one of the components of this, the latest declaration from the governor is, and I think this third sub-bullet is verbatim from the order. The state will request by June 15th an update from urban water agencies on their actions to reduce water usage and the effectiveness of these efforts. And so we expect to get a letter requesting that information from us. And then also, since we're in Santa Clara County, we're sort of affected by what the Santa Clara Valley Water District does. And they have, as you probably already know, they have called for a 20% countywide water use reduction. And they've been, you may have seen a lot of their messaging, and this city, even though we don't buy water from them, we do get the benefit of that regional outreach that's done by the district. And so what has happened locally? What's Palo Alto doing? Right now, Palo Altans have been conserving really well, much better than the rest of the group as a whole. So 9% reduction from last year in February, 20% in March and April. So this is the first good news we have. And also city operations, municipal operations, reduction has gone down by about 30%, and so we're pretty proud of that. So here's a picture of where water usage in Palo Alto in 2013 versus 2014 and what the goal is, the 10% cut from 2013. So we're doing well, but it has been somewhat rainy-ish this spring locally, and so we can't let up on the messaging, and I know Debbie and Catherine are on that, and we've been doing a lot of that. Also, another thing that's going to help our cause is that Santa Clara has doubled rebate amounts for many of the measures that could be taken, and I think this is through September. And so these are kind of short-term, hurry up and get these very fantastic levels of incentives for making some good long-term changes now. The turf grass conversion is now $4 a square foot incentive, so that should be enough to convince some people to do this now. That's just these are Palo Alto levels, and we've been able to increase them because the district is behind and we're partnering with them, and so we have some of our money in this and some of the district's money, and so these are Palo Alto rebate levels. Because Santa Clara has updated and doubled their rebates through September. So there's about anything you can think of, things around irrigation, commercial clothes washers, food steamers, and then sort of anything you can think of in your process as a business. rebates for saved water. So this is hopefully going to be effective way to get people to reduce in Santa Clara County. So I don't know if you have any questions on the water supply one, or should I just go straight on to the hydro part?
This is a really exciting chart, and I think it's great that we're giving people tangible ways to reduce water usage. It seems like one of the things missing here is a swimming pool cover. And as anyone who has a pool knows, the replacement due to evaporation in the summer is incredible. I think for most people with a swimming pool, that's their first or second largest use of water, depending on how much they use landscaping. And these covers that look like bubble wrap that float on the surface have a tremendous effect on reducing evaporation. And so for anyone with a swimming pool, that by itself could probably get you the 10 or 20% without having to change anything else that you do. And so I just wonder if we ought to take a look at ways to encourage that. For people with pools, letting the pool just become partially empty is not a good option. That can lead to all kinds of problems with the pool, even if you decide you're not going to use it. As pools have less water in them, they can actually pop out of the ground due to pressure from the surrounding soil.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have any pointers to how, where we can find these rebates? I mean, I don't see a pointer to a website or anything on this chart.
There is a pointer. Catherine may know what it is, but it is on the Palo Alto Utilities website. So, cityofpaloalto.org/water.
Yes, so you'll find all sorts of water-related information on that particular website. Thank you very much for the question.
Okay, shall I move on to the hydroelectric impacts? Okay. So this is a chart that shows basically our entire electric portfolio, which consists of renewables in green, the Western and Calaveras hydroelectric projects in light blue and dark blue, and then the pink is everything else. And so in an average year, you can see that's how much pink we have to buy. How much the pink is how much we have to buy on the market. And right now, what we expect in 2014 is a lot less Western and Calaveras energy and a lot more market energy that we're going to need to purchase, and the RECs to cover them to make it carbon neutral. And we are expecting, our constant expectation is that we'll ultimately move from where we are gradually to an average water supply or hydroelectric generation situation. And so those the second, third, and fourth bars are what we expect for the next 3 years. However, if the drought continues, it could be like in the far to the right 3 bars where it's going to look pretty grim for the next 3 years. And so it's just a matter of we don't really know how long or how deep or how persistent this drought will be. But if it persists, these extra costs will continue. Because as you know, the hydro supplies are pretty much all fixed costs. So we pay the same whether we get a lot or a little. And so it's a matter of you got to pay for the pink stuff, and you just hope you don't have that much pink stuff. And the pink stuff is pretty big now. This is a picture not of the resources, but of the cost. And so you can see, as I said, the hydro costs are the same, and then we pay a lot more. And so you can see in an average year, we're paying in 2014, we expect to pay significantly more than if it were an average year. And then these charts kind of show the numbers a little bit so you can see the picture. So the expectation is that fiscal year 2015 is going to cost us $9.4 million more than if the year was an average hydro year. And if it gets to be even worse, it could cost us another $4.3 million more. And so you can see the costs are due to the market purchases and then a little bit more for the renewable energy certificates. And this just shows you a little bit more detail of the same kind of stuff. And so that's the end of what I had, and if you have questions.
Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to commend you and your staff on a really great report. The drought's so important to all of us, and so thank you so much for your effort to put this together. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to know what's going on, so look forward to seeing it next month as well. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Okay, that item's done, item number 3. Item number 4, any potential future topics? Gentlemen? Public comment? No? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. During the presentation of the budget, staff mentioned that the Fiber to the Premises Master Plan and Wireless Network Plan are going to have achieved some milestone by June, by next month. And I guess my question is, can staff bring those achievements to UAC for inspection by UAC and the public?
I agree. Thank you very much, Jeff. It would be good to see what the results of that study are. So whenever the next appropriate time is, we can do that.
Is that within utilities these days?
No, we're not the lead. It is really being led out of the IT area, and the city manager is personally involved in this. We can certainly report after whatever decisions the council might make. We can make sure you're all well aware as well.
But how about a report when the study comes out?
Okay, no study coming out in June, but there will be some milestones. Yeah, so it's not really a report. It's, as Tom Marshall is saying, it's going to be an RFP. That's one of the milestones. But, you know, again, we can update you on.
So the city will put out, presumably, or is anticipated to put out an RFP, but it is not being driven by the utility department.
Correct.
That was my understanding.
Correct.
You know, I'll just say on this point, there's been discussion here. I think, you know, we've talked about to what extent the UAC should be involved. I'd love to see the UAC involved, but my understanding is the way things have gone, ranging from the city council subcommittee last year to the efforts this year, it's kind of being driven in directions that don't particularly include the UAC and the utilities department.
So we may need to ask legal for an opinion on this, because we do have Muni code responsibility for fiber oversight. So I think we just have to understand what our responsibility is under the code that was adopted just, I think, 3 years ago.
And we haven't seen any action from city council or, you know, city staff. We're not aware of anything that's going on, or, you know, vaguely aware through, you know, things being mentioned. But so it's kind of like we're responsible, but we're not responsible. But
well, yeah, you have not really oversight, but you are to advise the council on these matters. I suspect if the council is willing to move forward without such advice, it does have that option. Regardless, we will duly check with the city attorney, and she apologizes for not being here today, Jessica. They are you know, out of town right now, and I anticipate she'll be at the next meeting, and we can definitely have her address it.
Thank you for the correction, but yeah, I think just getting some feedback about whether we you know, whether we have any responsibility or not, because we certainly don't want to shirk it.
okay, any other items? Okay, we have a section here for commissioner comments. Anyone with any comments? Next scheduled meeting, June 4th. So that would be the regular, would we start at 7?
That's correct. Perhaps at this point, Chair Cook, it would be nice to note a new member of the UAC family.
Yes, Commissioner Chang has given birth to another child, her second, and we're very excited for her. Sorry that she can't make the meeting, but this is a good excuse.
Is that a baby commissioner?
This is a mini commissioner. Yeah. So, yeah, that's great news. Anything else? Okay, nothing else. Meeting's adjourned.
Specific